I'm delighted to welcome Natalie Elphicke to the Labour Party.
Well, I'm not outraged. I think it's actually really clever politics. And the fact that Jonathan Gullis is absolutely livid and furious and spitting out his dummy is actually even better. I'll play you the clip of Jonathan Gullis a bit later on. Do make sure you watch it. It's brilliant. Why would you, a Tory MP who's decided to stand down next election, says she wants to come into your party and give you headlines. And also, it actually is an attractive proposition, probably, to a lot of people who are lifelong Conservative voters. Think, oh, well, that Tory MP and Natalie Elphicke, she's gone and joined the Labour Party, so why would I not vote for them? If you want to take Conservative seats, of course, this is an absolutely brilliant idea. And it's actually exactly what Cameron did. He became suddenly this green liberal leader when he took over the Conservatives. His strapline was change to win. And that's exactly what he did do. He actually didn't get a majority. And in fact, the Liberal Democrats got into bed with them. And that is wholly different to the Labour Party at the end of the Parliament, bringing in a Conservative MP for a few weeks. It is not the same thing. Getting into government, in a coalition government, is entirely a different thing to allowing an MP to sit and limit the amount of votes that Rishi Sunak has got and give your party a boost. This is a positive thing, I think it is. And if it does turn from a trickle into a flood, we might get an election which we all want sooner rather than later. So well done, Keir Starmer.
She's got a strong track record on issues such as housing. She's on the front line when it comes to the crisis of small boats. And the reason that she's given for joining the Labour Party is very, very important, because I think she speaks for very many Tory voters in saying that the Tory party has changed. It's left the centre ground. But equally, the Labour Party has changed. And we are very clearly the party of the national interest, of country first, party second. And I look forward to working with her on the mission to deliver the real change that this country desperately needs.
Are there more MPs that might be defecting?
I think there are very many Tory voters who genuinely feel that the party that they may have voted for many times in some cases, is no longer the Tory party that they see. And I say to every Tory voter who feels that they want to be part of a national mission to change our country for the better, that the project we've built here in this Change Labour Party is a project that I hope they would feel that they could get behind.
I think many of us were shocked, especially when Miss Elphicke is busy writing articles in the Express where she herself has said, and I quote, "Not only have Labour not got a plan of their own to tackle illegal migration, they simply don't want to." I agree with Miss Elphicke of the past. When she said and tweeted in the past that Sir Keir Starmer's muddled and confused as what to do with small boats, she's of course correct. So I look forward to her trying to explain to her constituents, which I think will be quite difficult, that Sir Keir Starmer wants to not only do a dodgy deal with the EU that would surrender our border to 100,000 plus illegal migrants, but also that he now wants a migrant amnesty for those who've come here already, allowing 90,000 plus to stay here indefinitely, which will be impacting in particular her fine constituents. And I look forward to making sure that we make the Conservative case as to why it's only the Conservative Party with a clear plan to stop the votes.
Right, well, this defection was clearly designed to inflict maximum possible damage on the Prime Minister, wasn't it? She called Rishi Sunak the leader of a coup against Boris Johnson. She's talked about his signature policy, the policy towards stopping the boats, and she said it's not working. She is the MP for Dover. It's hardly a ringing endorsement of your party.
Well, again, I would go back to the facts I've just laid out, which is the Conservative Party that did a deal with France that stopped around 23,000 vessels. In fact, Ms Elphicke has said in numerous WhatsApp groups that weather, for example, isn't something to be blamed, yet the Labour Party tried to blame it. So she's contradicting now herself in what she said in private to what she'll say publicly. It's also the fact that we did returns deals with countries like Albania that saw a 93% drop. We've given additional £800 million to the National Crime Agency. So Labour's current plan is to copy and paste what we've already done and then add on top this deal with the EU, which would surrender our borders to Sir Keir's buddies in Brussels, and give an amnesty to illegal migrants, meaning that smugglers will continue to profit off human lives, which will sadly end up being lost England, English Channel, whereas I want to stop, the Conservative Party wants to stop people choosing to get in those boats because they do not need to unnecessarily risk their lives.
Right, I mean, it's hardly good for morale in your party, is it? You've got 100 or so MPs standing down, 2 MPs within the space of 2 weeks defecting to the other side after those local election results. I mean, what do you think the public should make of this, the state of the Conservative Party now?
Well, when Dan Poulter moved across the floor, I think you'd forgive me for knowing that, like most of the country, I had to Google who Dan Poulter was because I didn't.
He's still a Tory. He was still a Tory MP.
He was, and as I say, I've barely seen the guy. So I look forward to his
others.
Constituents having a much better representative in the future when they get a Conservative elected there. And as for Miss Elphicke, well, ultimately, she's running scared of the electorate. She's choosing not to stand the next election. If she believed
like
in
100 or so of your colleagues.
Well, let's not forget how many of those colleagues have served here since 2010. Miss Elphicke was elected in 2019, and let's find out now. She firmly believes that Sir Keir is the answer to all the world's problems, which is certainly not the case. Let's find if she's got the bravery enough to stand in that seat against a Conservative candidate and make the case for why she thinks Labour's no plan on stopping the boats is a good thing for her constituents, when it will just mean more people coming across on small boats, more people clogging up her hotels, more school places being pressured, more NHS places being pressured, more money from the British taxpayer having to fund this illegal migration amnesty that Sir Keir Starmer would be the head and centre of. And of course, she isn't going to. She's running scared, and which means she hasn't got a very strong record to defend.
Jonathan Gullis, many thanks. Well,
there are a lot of people who are, in meltdown about Keir Starmer and the Labour Party and Brexit and rejoin. And the truth of the matter is we don't know when the election is going to be. In June, there are EU elections as well. We don't know what the future holds. And I think it's probably wise to not have a complete and utter election running around Brexit again. It will just cause the same tribal warfare that we had in 2019, which everyone is keen to avoid. They have given a commitment of a veterinary agreement, and the people in the Conservative Party certainly think that Keir Starmer is going to rejoin the European Union. And it's mad that the people who should be supportive of Labour are having a meltdown about it, particularly as there isn't anyone else to vote for. We only have first past the post. It's a two-party system by and large. In most seats, in the majority of seats, you have a choice of voting Conservative or Labour, and voting for the smaller parties only helps the Conservatives get in. From my perspective, the Conservatives want to continue with awful trade deals, which are so destructive for British farming. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm happy to give Keir Starmer a go. If he doesn't come up with the goods once they're in power, then we will be working on the Labour Party to change leader. And we've just come through this parliament where Boris Johnson was elected, and we've seen 2 other leaders. So we know that the agenda can be moved once power has been won. But it's also worthwhile listening to Pascal Lamy, who is the former EU Commissioner for Trade. Have a listen.
Pascal Lamy, you've been a prolific commentator on Brexit and on the British media, although perhaps a little less so in the last couple of years, but certainly after the referendum you were on British talk shows a lot. Just before we started this interview, you told me that you were talking to various interlocutors in the UK. What's your sense of where Britain is going on the whole Brexit issue, and what a possible future Labour government might do on this?
Well, let's look at facts. Brexit is more messy, more costly than we all expected, including people like me who were against Brexit. I thought it would be a problem. I didn't think it would be that big a problem. So this has to be fixed a way or another. And I recognize it's now very complex. But in a nutshell, my advice to my pals in the Labour Party is very simple. The strategy should be keep the notion that you have divorced for political reasons, but keep sleeping together because that's the way to address the economic problem. So if you want to remain on the politics of Brexit, you say we've divorced. But if you want to reduce the cost for UK of this keep sleeping together with Europeans.
But don't tell the British public that you're sleeping together. Is that the idea?
I think for some time that should be the game, while recognizing that there may be paparazzis here and there.
Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good note to end on. That's all for part one.
Don't forget to comment below, let me know what you think, and if you haven't subscribed, hit that button.